This is Mr. Impact Wrestling himself, Moose, and you're listening to the Irish Whip.
Hookers? Hookers and Coke?
Hookers and Coke, man.
You're the only pro wrestler I know that wants to do this shit in the morning.
Yeti, you're a f***ing moron.
Put it this way, I think Sami Callihan might as well just change his name to Invader
I
One.
want to know why. Like, he can dodge any question. Like, I'll tell anyone that. You can tell me but I'm going to ask specific questions.
Promotional consideration paid for by the following.
WrestlingNewsSource.com. For all the rest of you yahoos who are out there dilly-dillying you little wankers, we're actually receiving real wrestling news.
This is
Brett screwed Brett.
Who are you to doubt El Dandy? Because this guy's a serious professional.
Brett screwed Brett.
Hold 2! Arm bar!
Hey, get a nice shot of the brand new Mr. and Mrs. Hunter Hearst Helmsley.
I hate you. I hate you. I hate your hat. I hate your t-shirts. I hate your wristbands. I hate your shoes. I hate your music. I hate the C Nation. I hate everything that you stand for.
Sodas rule.
Yeah, they do.
What's up, TIW Mafia? JP here. I'm here with somebody I've been friends with for damn near 15 years.
At least, yeah.
One of the most genuine people I know, and just kind-hearted, always willing to help someone out. And when you go into a Denny's at 3 a.m. coming back from a show, I don't know who he is. That's a shoot. The live effing wire, Dave Padula.
JP, what's up, man?
What's happening, Dave? Dave,
my pleasure to be speaking with you today.
Yeah, man, this is fun. I always like talking to you, you know that.
Same here.
I want to talk a little about WrestleMania at some point, and I want to talk a little about the mass transit incident, because the New Jack story just came out on Vice last week.
Yes, yeah.
We're going to talk to Rich Palladino at some point during this week, too.
Yep.
So you guys will get both of those. You may have already listened to Rich before this. You may listen to Rich after this. All depends on how I'm feeling when I put them together. But Dave, you have kind of a unique situation on that we'll get into.
Okay.
So for people who don't know who Dave is, you were a pro wrestler for a long time.
I was. I started in 1993. 1993 to 95, I was a weekend warrior with the New England Wrestling Alliance. Then I hooked up with some guys in 95 over at Champs Arena, Salisbury Beach, Massachusetts. And they gave me some really good training. I started with Silvana Souza, brought me over to Yankee Pro Wrestling, which is now Top Rope. Yeah. And from there, I started getting bookings, different promoters, and started getting used really well. That lasted till about maybe 2002, 2001, actually, when I got my tooth knocked out. And then from after that, it was here and there type of work.
Now, because we're going to get into the hardcore stuff, obviously, and talk about ECW.
Yes.
Tell me what you and Jose Perez did for New England.
Actually, it's what Jose did for me. Around 1996, I was getting really bored with my wrestling. I wasn't anything exciting. And I sat up about 2 o'clock in the morning. I was watching some ECW tapes, and I got a tape of the Axel Rotten, Ian Rotten feud, the Rotten brothers.
Oh, yeah.
They were using like plywood with barbed wire and bats and thumbtacks. And I said, no one around here is doing this. Well, except when ECW would come around, but no local companies. So I figured, who can I do this with? Jose Perez. So I passed by Jose some ideas, and of course he had to check in with Claudia, and Claudia said, over my dead body. Not going to happen. We actually were working for Yankee Pro. We went to Joe Eugenio with the idea, and because me and Jose had worked a lot at that point, and we're like, we're doing everything that we've done, like some nice wrestling matches, and it's getting a little bit more aggressive. This would be perfect. Joe absolutely said no. He said, I run a family show. I'm not going to have this, in my on my cards, and ruin my shows. Well, fine. So we threw away that idea, And then about a week later, Joe asked me and Jose, he goes, "You guys still want to do that match?" It was a barbed wire. The match that we were thinking about doing was something that we saw from Ian Rotten's group, where they take the ropes down and they put the barbed wire up instead of ropes. And we're going to do, hardcore match like that. And Joe said, "Listen, we'll do it, but it's on you guys. If something happens, I don't want to know anything about it." And we actually did the match. I thought it was very successful because we did 3 more for him. And guys started just picking up from that. And Jose gave me a whole new outlook on my character. He gave me a whole new character. He gave me new life. He gave me, I got a lot of extra bookings for, being the hardcore wrestler. Then I started working with Kyle Storm, Matt Storm, Black Wolf, Vertebreaker, Diamond Dave Donovan, who's one of the sickest son of a bitches I ever been in the ring with. I love him to death. And so that's pretty much how me and Jose, I feel that we started the hardcore wrestling in New England because no one wanted to do it. They were against it.
I wouldn't take credit for it. And that's why I had to put you on the spot like that. Because you guys absolutely did introduce hardcore. And any of those guys you just named, I'm good friends with a few of them. We'll give you guys credit for bringing hardcore wrestling into New England and really in the area to it.
And I was nervous about it because 1993, I did a match against Tire Shock and Taunton High School. And without checking with promoters and the bookers first, I bled. And I got hell. But after in the locker room, I caught a lot of hell about that. What are you thinking? You're stupid. So doing the hardcore stuff, I was really nervous because I was like, nobody's going to want to do this. But luckily, Jose said, "Yeah, I'll do it. Sure, why not?" And I remember...
I'm your age. Me and you were in the same age bracket, but 93 was before I was going to shows. I didn't start till like 04, 05.
Okay.
But like 93, that was like the height of the Attitude Era. So blood, I don't want to say it was nothing, but it wasn't like there was no shock value, or wasn't a lot of shock value to blood, I wouldn't think.
Well, 93, actually, that was before the Attitude Era. This was still...
That's true, huh?
This was still the land of professional wrestling, where you had characters. You had, Duke Drosy, the Garbage Man. You had...
Twitter.
He's awesome. Mike's an awesome guy. And you had a lot more characters. You had Doink the Clown. You had the Undertaker coming out. You like the dead guy Undertaker, the original character type of thing. So it was more. And when I started wrestling, I was very gimmicky. I did a character called Sir Reaper. It was a skull mask with a purple robe, and I hailed from London, England.
I just recently saw a picture of that online, actually.
And it was the most ridiculous thing I came up with. Someone said, "All right, yeah, that's okay, do it." I did it, and it's just I did that for about a year.
But that's
it was ridiculous. It was comical, but it was entertaining.
So that was fun, though. Now, what do you think? What did you think of wrestling? So talk a little about wrestling. Then, what do you think about this weekend, WrestleMania?
I know everybody's got their opinion about it. I didn't like it. Let me rephrase this. The matches were good. They performed the best they could. They did the best that they could with what they had. But it was like watching a movie. The Undertaker's match was like watching a movie. It didn't have that wrestling feeling to it. I actually thought a lot of the wrestlers didn't act like they were at WrestleMania, except for Nikki Cross. After her match, her and Alexa, she was like all jumping around and being all like charismatic. She was the only person that seemed really excited about being there.
Yeah, I feel like this year, like they were all kind of robbed of that WrestleMania moment, not having the crowd with everything going on in the world.
Yes, that's exactly that's the correct phrase. WrestleMania moment. It didn't feel like there was anything there.
Right. I didn't care. I thought the Taker and AJ thing was like drawn out, and I think it was very Nitro-like.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I actually enjoyed, and I talked to you about this last night, I enjoyed the Bray Wyatt Cena thing because there was comical psychology to it, and it brought me back.
Yeah.
I love that blue cage. That blue cage is one of my favorite all-time gimmick matches.
And when I see the blue cage, the first thing I think of is King Kong Bundy and Hulk Hogan.
Yes,
WrestleMania 2, you know?
Yep, absolutely.
Brings me back to being a kid.
Yeah, and then so like seeing that, and then all the stuff they did, and him cutting the promos almost word for word.
Yeah.
And dragging Cena through his whole career. I almost wish they had the prototype.
Oh, that would have been awesome. That would have been funny.
They got close with the ruthless aggression Cena, but like if they brought the prototype out there and defeated the prototype, you know?
Whoever came up with that idea was brilliant because it was a mind. It really wasn't a match, a wrestling match. It was a fire funhouse match.
Yes.
It was a mind, excuse the term, mind fuck, you know, kind of.
Yeah, exactly. I wish it didn't main event.
Yeah.
But I thought it was fun. And I thought Mania in general was fun. Gronk won another title.
Yep.
You know, and I'm sure that's going to be on the news. I'm sure that'll make ESPN and all the news stations today, which is the whole purpose of doing it, you know.
Yeah.
They make fun of me on the show because I liked David Arquette as WCW champ because, well, how much publicity did it? But look at what it was meant to do. It wasn't meant for him to be an all-star wrestler. It was meant to bring publicity and spotlight it, and then it was front-page news.
Well, that was Vince's idea with WrestleMania. There's controversy who came up with WrestleMania, but you know, whether it was Howard Finkel or somebody else, but the WrestleMania was, you know, you had Liberace, you had oh my God, I can't. WrestleMania, Mr. T.
Cyndi Lauper.
Cyndi Lauper, thank you. I'm trying to think who else was in. But see, that brought attention from people who weren't wrestling fans. You know, the whole rock and wrestling. You know, you had people that love music, but they weren't familiar with wrestling. This brought in a whole different audience for them. So that.
It's I thought it was fun though. I enjoyed it. I actually night one, me and a few of my friends actually did like a video conference thing. So we all you watch it on your own TV, but you were all video conferencing with each other, so you could laugh and talk some shit and have a beer and not feel like you were sitting in a room alone. Because how much fun is that? You know?
Yeah, exactly.
But now, I want to get into your role with the mass transit incident.
Okay.
I jumped around a little, so sorry.
No, I'm with you, brother. I watched the Darkside wrestling on New Jack, and I actually thought it was well made. It was funny. It was entertaining. That's Jack. I don't know New Jack like on a personal basis, but I've been on shows with him. I've driven with him. He's a good guy to be around. Good stories. He is wrestling. He actually knows a lot about wrestling.
Oh.
The man can get in the ring and wrestle. He came down to I don't know if you were there when he came down when we did the shows. I think it was in Webster, Massachusetts. And he came down to one of the practices and got in the ring with Bad Boy Billy Black and was showing Billy how to be a better heel with different wrestling moves and techniques and small little things that were very slight, but you know, it made him a better heel. Jack is, I think he as far as wrestling goes, he's got a great mind for wrestling.
I think I have a theory that he's obviously not the, on the most straight and narrow path, but I actually think he's a better worker than he is a bad guy.
Yeah.
I don't think he's as bad as he's painted out to be. I think he's a great worker.
He is. I mean, he's stayed at Jose's house when he's in town for a couple of shows, and he cooked meals for us, oxtail and potato stew. We didn't get no spaghetti from like the guy, but Jack would play with the video games with Jose's kid, Ricky, and he's just a down to earth guy. You know, I mean,
he didn't stab anybody.
No, he didn't. I got a good story. So. Him and I think it was him and Sandman were taking on Jose and Bad Boy Billy Black. Okay. I think that's and Bad Boy Billy's name is Robbie. He was so nervous. So the night before the show, he's at the house. We're all eating stew and everything, and we're sitting on the couch watching TV. And Jack takes out his bag, and in his bag he's got chains. He's got like sickles and all kind of weapons. And Billy's eyes are bulging as he's doing this. And Jack just takes a sickle and like grabs my head and starts working it on my head. You know, I'm not trying to ruin his gimmick or anything like that, but you know, not cutting me, you know. And Billy was just like, he turned pale. He's like, "Oh, what am I getting myself into?" But they had the match; it was good, you know. So I think Jack likes to get into people's heads.
Yes.
If that, you know what I'm
he's
saying?
Good at that. He's you know. Trying to think, like, I don't tear down the fourth wall a lot, but people always say don't try to work the workers.
Yes.
And I think he managed to.
Oh, absolutely. Like, somebody asked a question, like, I think they asked, like, D'Lo Brown and Jim Cornette, like, who's oh God, Jack's real name, I'm sorry. They asked him who's something young. And like, we don't know. I'm sorry, thank you. Too many hey, this is all Jose's fault with concussion. So, Jerome Young, like, who's Jerome Young? Like, we don't know. We don't know if we've ever met Jerome Young. We don't know if we've ever seen Jerome Young. Is Jerome Young same as New Jack? Is he different? You know, it's when you can be somebody like that. I think that's brilliant.
Yeah, I didn't realize D'Lo was in the Gangsters.
Yeah, Smoky Mountain. Yeah.
Yeah, I forgot about that. And watching D'Lo's reaction when he stabbed the guy, D'Lo's like, "Oh look, something in the corner. Oh wait, he's pulling something out. Oh shit."
Yeah.
You know, but now, was there anything in that stuck out to you as not necessarily the truth?
As far as what?
The mass transit incident in particular.
Yes. They were talking about how, I think Tiny the Terrible was saying he showed Paulie a tape of Eric working the midgets. And Paulie said, "Oh, I've never seen a big guy work a midget like, you know, the midgets like this. This is great." And that's how they got invited to the show. That is absolutely false. A week before the show, Tiny the Terrible called me and said, "Hey, Livewire, it's ECW's in Revere next week. You know, do you want to go?" And I was like, "Yeah, you know, I'm not working. Sure." He goes, I can't promise you anything, but I can get you in." I was like, "Yeah, Doug." And Tiny the Terrible, his name is Dougie. I always call him Dougie. He's a lot of times would say, "Hey, I'm going to New York. Can you give me a ride? I can't promise you anything, but I can try to get you on the show." Well, he never got me on the show anywhere, but I always enjoy the rides. It's a lot of fun, you know, be on the rides and, you know, going to these different shows. So I didn't mind. The night before the ECW show in Revere, my boss called me, and I was a site manager for a security company at a movie theater, and they needed me to work the next night. There was a big movie coming out. I think it was a Star Trek movie or something, and they needed me to be on site for that night. So there was no. I could have said no, and maybe, you know, there would have been some repercussions, but I was like, you know what? I'm not going to get on the show, so I'm not going to go.
Right.
And that was a mistake. So he was giving me the third degree, like, "Oh, you screwed me. But then I said, you know what? Eric Kulas loves ECW wrestling. We would sit on Wednesday nights either at his house. His mom Donna would cook a big meal, General Tao chicken, steaks on a grill or something, or we go to Eastside Mario's and we would sit there and watch ECW wrestling. This kid was like a little kid in a candy store. Like I said, he was like 16, 17 years old with a child mind. His mind was really, when he saw ECW on TV, it was like a kid on Christmas. You know what I'm saying? Like his face would light up with a smile. And that's why I keep on saying, like, Eric's a happy-go-lucky kid. And there might, you know, I might have some friends that disagree with that. But I got to see Eric in those ways. So and I know I'm jumping around. I'm sorry.
Let me interrupt you here real quick, because I don't want you to be afraid of your opinion at all. Guys, anything said on this show right now is Dave's opinion. I back that up 100%. So if there's an issue with that and an issue with anything said on the show, come talk to me. Okay, I'm going to take every piece of heat that comes out of this, because what Dave says is gospel to me. So,
so the night before the show in Revere, I said, "Dougie, let me call Eric. I know he loves ECW. Let me see if his father will take you guys, if you can get him in the show." He goes, "Oh yeah, I can get him in. I know I can get him in." So I called Eric. I said, "Eric, you want to go to ECW tomorrow?" He goes, "Yeah, where?" So I told him. I said, "But the thing is Dougie needs a ride down there." And so he asked his father, Steve, and Steve was the actual bus driver, his father.
Yeah.
We'll get more into him, but he was a bus driver for the RIPTA, the Rhode Island Public Transit Authority, and he knew Dougie from years ago, and they've always had some kind of a beef. I still think it was because Dougie's black. Steve can come off as a racist.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't have a high opinion of Steve, but he's passed. I really don't want to talk ill of him, but he was a bad guy. Eric, I've seen cigarette burns on his arm. I'm like, dude, what the hell is that from? He goes, oh, my dad burned me with a cigarette. And if you don't listen to, if the kids didn't, him and his brother Justin, if they didn't listen to his dad, he would either stab him with a screwdriver or burn him with a cigarette. That's what he did. That's what it was. So he asked his father, and I said, here's Dougie's number. Give him a call and go talk to him. So Eric called me back. He says, yeah, we're going. Thank you so much. I said, yeah, no problem, man. Have a good time, whatever. Never thinking he was going to bring his gimmick. He wasn't mass transit with us, the New England Wrestling Alliance. He was something Cramden. It was after a Ralph Cramden gimmick from the Honeymooners. And we always thought that Eric was a danger in the ring. So we would tell him, dude, just stay with your own people. You're good for battle royals. You're good with the guys that you train with in the ring, because Eric was, over 300 pounds, but he was always in danger of tripping over his own feet. He was very clumsy. He was sloppy. If he was in a ring with somebody that didn't know him and hurt him by accident, they would have shot over him. And obviously that's what happened. I don't think he was ever really taught how to act in a dressing room, how to, act around names. So when he went to ECW and Dougie got him in the back and everything, I think that kid acted like, it was like seeing his idols. Instead of, seeing other wrestlers, guys that are his peers, it was like a kid in Christmas morning, like, oh my God, that's Taz. Oh my God, that's New Jack. Oh my God, and he mocked, basically it was a mock, I'm not trying to, degrade the kid at all, but that's how he was. He was kind of goofy, a little childish. Maybe didn't take things serious as he should. His dad always thought he was better than what he was. His dad was like, why is my son always in the battle royal? Why is my son always this? What? He's a big guy. He's bigger than everybody here. He should be, in the main event. And that wasn't a place for Eric, until he got better. Maybe he lost weight, got healthier. The kid was smoking since he was 12 years old. Wow. When he would get in the ring and he'd run the ropes once, his face would turn beet red. He'd be sweating, out of breath. So he didn't belong in the ring, with guys that were that caliber in ECW. But I didn't know this. So the next morning, 7 o'clock in the morning, my phone rings and Eric goes, hey. I'm like, hey, what's up? He goes, guess what happened last night? I was like, what? He goes, I got stabbed. I said, you got stabbed? What happened? He goes, yeah, New Jack stabbed me. And the way he said it was I can picture him smiling, saying this. I said, Eric, I need some context. You got to explain this. He says, I worked the gangsters. And I thought he was ribbing me, And I said, wait, what happened? He goes, oh yeah, somebody didn't show up, and Dougie got me a spot on the card. I said that. He goes, he explained that he tagged with Devon, and I didn't know who Devon was at the time. And I said, I don't know who Devon is, but what was going on in the match? He goes, yeah, well, I didn't know how to blade, so I had New Jack cut me. I'm like, oh dear God. And he says, well, how'd he stab you? He goes, well, he cut me really deep, and Eric started talking about, and he was whispering when he was saying all this. So I kept on saying, like, Eric, I can't. He goes, I can't talk too loud because my dad would get mad if he found out I was talking to you. I was like, why is your dad mad? He goes, my dad doesn't want me talking to any of the boys from the wrestling anymore. I'm like, Eric, what the hell happened? So he called me back about an hour later, and he went through the entire night, the entire day. When he went there, how he acted, what he said to people. He told me the story because I know you've been told the story where he was in the locker room and he was smoking a cigarette. And Taz, being the locker room leader, went up to him and, hey, brother, do you mind putting that out? I don't like smoking in my locker room. And instead of doing the proper thing, saying, oh, I'm sorry, and put it out right away, Eric's like, yeah, sure, no problem. And he smoked it a couple of times. And Taz asked him a second time, goes, brother, he goes, I really would like you to put the cigarette out. He goes, yeah, I'll put it out. And then he finally put it out, but,
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And that's Eric's mentality. He was just not mature. He was very immature, not smart enough to know better,
Right.
I really wish there was somebody there with him that would have been watching him. The whole thing about Killer Kowalski, he lying about his age, that's all derived from Tiny and his father, Steve. Because he says, I said, how'd you get on the show? He goes, well, they asked me who trained me. And I said, would you tell him? I said, some killer guy. I said, what? He goes, I don't know. He goes, Tiny said to tell him that I was trained by Killer something. I said, Killer Kowalski? He goes, yeah, that's it. I'm like, Eric, do you know who Killer Kowalski is? He goes, no. I'm like, oh, dear Lord. I says, let me tell you something, Eric. I says, as soon as you said you were trained by Killer Kowalski, they probably knew you were lying. If anything else, they knew you were lying because Killer Kowalski's guys would not have acted in the way that you did, first of all. Second of all, Killer Kowalski's guys, they're like a clique. They all know each other. And if they didn't train together, somebody that trained with a Kowalski guy knew. So they all kind of knew who trained under Killer Kowalski. And a lot of the guys that were there that night that were trained by Killer Kowalski had no idea who this kid was. As a matter of fact, Ron Zombie had posted a comment saying that he was there with a couple of guys, and somebody that he knew that was in the back asked him, hey, who's this kid? And Zombie didn't know. So it was like they knew Eric was bullshitting them right off the bat. Eric had told me he went up to him and said, hey, Jack, how about putting me through a table tonight? And I said right there, Eric, you did not. He goes, yeah, I think, I thought it'd be really cool to go through a table. And Jack said, no, dude, that's taboo stuff. And then he would said, oh, I want to do this to you. And Jack's like, all right, kid, all right. We'll talk about it later, And right there, I think Jack was just like, I'm fucking this kid up.
New Jack said it in the documentary. He's like, I went to Paul and he said, I'm going to do something that's going to have him talking about this in 10 years.
Yep.
And,
20 years later. And it's basically, I call it a crucifixion. Where, now I think you had asked me something about if I thought it was a work or something, or part of it might have been a work and it turned into something a work going wrong or something.
Yeah.
I don't think any of that was going to be a work. I think they went in there with the intention of teaching the kid a lesson and never hearing from him again. And I told Eric, I said, if I was you, the proper thing you should have done, take the beating, take the crucifixion, go in the back and say thank you to everybody.
Yeah.
Thank you, New Jack, for the match. Thank you, Paulie, for the opportunity. You might have been a mark. They might have fucked you up. But by being, okay, thank you, being mature about it, they might have said, hey, this kid doesn't know what the fuck he's doing, but maybe we can do something with him.
Right.
And instead, his father's, yelling at everybody, yelling at Jew Jack. He's yelling, he's 17, where's the fucking ref? His father went off in the back, and his father wanted to sue from day one. He told me his father wants to sue, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, Eric, that's the worst thing to do. You'll never work again in wrestling.
Right.
Because my father never wants me to work in wrestling. Eric had called me one time and said that, I guess the attorney or the lawyer came to them and said, listen, they're giving us an offer. If Eric drops the charges, they'll give you $10,000. They'll send Eric to New York, pay for his living expenses, free training at Taz's school, and a 1-year guaranteed contract.
Wow.
And Eric said, Dad, I want to do that. I want to do that. His father said, absolutely not. We're getting millions out of this. And of course, they went to court and they lost.
Right. That's what waivers are for.
Yeah. And
it's unfortunate that something had happened to a kid who, if you say he's a good kid, I know I would have been friends with him.
Jose, if you talk to Jose Perez or Scott, who wrestled in the Thrash, they have a little different opinion of him, and I respect their opinion.
Right.
Because after that happened, Eric, according to Jose and Scott, Eric was saying, "Oh, guys, this is once I start working for ECW, I'll get you guys a spot, or I'll hook you guys up on a show." Like, he was being a big shot about it. And Eric never came to me like that, because from day one I yelled at him how he did wrong.
Right.
And but that's but before that, like every week, his mom would have me come over, and she would make dinner. Like I said, General Tso chicken, steaks on the grill. April of '96, I had lost my grandmother, and it wrecked me. And I remember being there crying, and his mom's went out, and she actually made an outfit for me for wrestling, because the pants I was wearing were kind of ripped and everything, and she made me an outfit, and it was like gold. I call it the Sabu pants, or as Matt Storm says, Slabu, big fat Sabu looking guy. But so they did a lot of stuff for me, and like I sat with Eric and his brother Justin, and I would teach them they had a guitar, Epiphone Explorer guitar, and I would show them how to play different chords and stuff. And he was just a happy kid. He loved wrestling. He knew what he was getting into. And when I saw on the news him lying, him saying, "Oh, I didn't know what they're going to do to me," and I called him out on it on AOL. I sent him a message, like, "Eric, you need to call me right now." And he called me, and I said, "Eric, you're lying your ass off on TV." He goes, "I have to. My dad says I have to say this." I says, "Eric, you're burying yourself, brother."
I mean, the way it was told to me, because again, I came around after it, was that, like,
yep.
After that, when ECW did come back up here, they completely stopped using local guys.
Yes.
And the way it was said to me was, if Dave had given Tiny that ride, and this isn't anything bad on you for not, like, obviously work comes first, but yep. They were like, if Dave had given Tiny that ride, him, Devon, and Gangsters would have tore the house down, probably had match of the night, and local independent guys from New England would have been all over ECW.
Absolutely.
And that was all word for word said to me by other people.
I've never claimed to be a good wrestler. I try to say I'm a good worker. I try to do the best I can. If my job is to go in there and be a bump master, I try to bump as best I can for somebody. And I've actually told New Jack after that, I want to say it was somewhere, it might have been at the pay-per-view around Easter 2000. Yeah, I think it was at the pay-per-view that they had in Philadelphia 2000, where Just Incredible won the belt. That night we're at a bar, and I think I actually told him, I said, if I was there that night, I said, it would have been a night off for you. You would have had the easiest night of your life. And that's something I take pride. Like, I don't like to put myself over as being a good wrestler, but I like to be able to say, I think I'm easy to work with. And whatever somebody asks me to do, I do it,
Yeah. I've seen that myself. I've not that. I don't know who's easy to work with and who's not, but I know you've always been somebody, like whatever company you were with, you've been a company guy. So.
Yeah.
Now, how did you feel in general about the New Jack deal, the special?
Like I said, I enjoyed it. I thought it was entertaining. It was funny. I think it actually it showed. I'm trying to think of how to word this properly. It showed. I think it showed how wrestlers can really, because there's a lot of stories there. You had the story of Rick Grimes. You had the story with who's the Indian guy? Gypsy Joe.
Yep.
And it's being in the ring with all these guys, and sometimes things can get to you. I can't say I'd never snapped in the ring before. I took a kid I don't know if you know Danny O'Callahan. We did a match one time, and he didn't listen to me, and he was shooting. He wasn't shooting, but things that I was calling, he was doing to me, and I threw him out of the ring. I beat him up with a chair, a school desk actually, and then I took a board off a wall, and I started hitting him over the back with it. It had nails in it, and the nails stuck into his back. So there was a rumor that I actually stabbed somebody in the ring one time. That was that incident. Then I threw him down.
I heard that story. I read that story. I'm laughing because I know you.
And I threw him down a flight of stairs.
I've seen you in a situation that could have got ugly, and you actually controlled the situation. And it wasn't in the ring. I don't know if we want to tell the story, but it wasn't in the ring. It was out of the ring. And I
talk about Swedish Fish.
Yes.
Oh boy.
Dave gets me drunk and tries to and someone else came by and tried to start a fight with us. And
that was Danny Inferno.
Yes, I'm 6'8". Dave's not a small guy by any means.
Yeah, that was a fun day though. But Danny Inferno, when I had he told me, he goes, "Yeah, I wrestled for WWE," and he's like, talking. I'm like, "Oh, so you must know Steve Bradley? You must have worked with Steve Bradley." And he's like, "I never heard of him." And I took that really offense because this was right after, Steve had just passed away not too long after, before this. And I took offense to that. I was like, everybody knew Steve Bradley, And he's like, "No, I never heard of him. And then remember, I got out of the car and I went to stand up to him face to face, and the kid just grabbed me, hugged me, and started crying.
Yeah.
And
he paused before he said he didn't know him too, and I caught that.
Yeah.
There was a thought about it, and
yeah. And then he started crying, and I said, "Dude, what's going on?" He goes, "Man, I love Steve Bradley. He was like a brother to me." And then that was pretty, a cool moment, but
it was, and it was something like that good because I know I wasn't sober.
That was a fun night.
That was. That was. I laugh every time because the whole thing started with Danny Inferno walking randomly down the street while me and Dave were outside of a show, had a couple of beers, and Dave had some Swedish Fish, and Danny Inferno said, "I'm going to take them." Dave,
I'm going to knock you out and take a Swedish Fish, and he gave me a work punch and took a Swedish Fish.
But Dave said, "No, I'll give you want some fish here. Like there's some random guy walking down the street, you're offering food to. That's just how you are."
Yeah.
So, but that's when I saw the New Jack. When I saw they were doing this, first of all, I hit up you and Rich, and I said, I want to talk to you guys about this because they did the Bruiser Brody one last year, and we had Hugo Savinovich on after.
Yep. And
Hugo basically said Vice didn't lie, but nobody that they interviewed saw what happened because nobody saw what happened.
Except for Tony.
Right. Well...
And
yeah, it's the way Hugo described it was like those two were in a room. Bruiser and Invader were in a room, in a shower.
Yeah,
completely blocked off.
Yep.
So I wanted to see. I mean, I don't think Vice is trying. I think Vice is trying to get a good documentary out of it. And they do. Every episode has been incredible.
Yes.
So I just wanted to see where in it. From all the stories I've heard, they were really honest with this one, except for when I saw the thing of Tiny showed him the tape, and then you see a tape of Eric Kulas working the midgets.
And he's like, "Oh yeah, Paulie saw this and invited us up." I said, "No, that's not how he got up there."
Right.
I knew the kid loved ECW. I thought it would be a treat for him to go to a show, maybe see some of what goes on behind the curtains at a national promotion, and learn something. And unfortunately, that didn't happen. And here's a funny story about Axel Rotten. The reason how I got into the hardcore wrestling is, like I said, I was watching a video of him and Ian Axel Rotten feud, and the barbed wire bat, the thumbtack bat, the plywood with the barbed wire. I stole all those ideas from him and used them with Jose. And then me and Axel were huge Kiss fans. And then I always wanted to work him. And the fact that he didn't show up and Eric got that position where I could have, if it was me, and who knows, I could have gotten that position. That kind of pissed me off a little bit.
Well, and the thing, so you brought up the Killer Kowalski too. Something that I've been told was that whenever ECW was here, somebody brought Kowalski to the show.
Yep, because you had to get Kowalski's guys a tryout, and because Kowalski is a name. He's the biggest trainer.
And, he trained Perry Satin. Paul Richards was reffing for them at the time.
Yep.
He trained him.
Triple H.
Yeah, so there were people there, like you said. Ron Zombie. Somebody asked Ron Zombie who it was. Ron was a Kowalski guy.
Yeah, absolutely.
So
and
that was
Eric,
so easy to verify or not verify whether they wanted to or not.
Yeah. But it's I don't know. I'm still pissed about it because what could have been. Because of that, if you think about it, because of that incident, the first ECW pay-per-view was canceled. All right, it was pushed back actually, but they're supposed to have an ECW pay-per-view and it was canceled. On that pay-per-view, Chris Benoit was actually going to win the heavyweight belt, ECW heavyweight championship belt. Paul Lee was pushing Chris to be a heavyweight champion. And that pay-per-view was canceled, and that canceled the opportunity for Chris.
Wow. I never knew that about Benoit.
Yeah, I'll try to send you a link to the interview with Paul Lee where he tells a story about that. Yeah, because he was going to make Chris the champion, and because that whole incident, the pay-per-view got canceled, things got pushed back, and
shoot, I think making Chris the champ would have taken some of the light because you're putting it on somebody that's not a hardcore wrestler,
Yeah.
But yeah, that's the Vice, and I looking at some of the ones this year, like Owen Hart and stuff.
That's gonna be awesome.
I can't wait to see that because I was a huge Owen fan. I love the Blue Blazer, and I want someone to tell me who played the Blue Blazer in this area in the 90s.
What do you mean?
I never went to indie shows.
Okay.
Until I started in 04, 05. When I was in high school, so it had to be between 88 and 92, my buddy went to Savio in East Boston.
Okay.
And they had a wrestling show as a fundraiser. I don't know whose show it was because I didn't know anything about anything at the time. I'm guessing either a Rumble or a Kowalski show. But the Blue Blazer was on the show, and I'm guessing because there were no other names on the show that they didn't bring in Owen Hart.
Wow, I didn't know that.
And I couldn't tell you anyone else was on the show, and I wish I could because I'm probably friends with a few of them now. But I know, I remember the Blue Blazer. And
yeah.
But like I said, that was 80. It had to be between 88 and 92 because I was in high school.
That's interesting.
And I remember it being a packed gym.
Wow.
And I didn't know what to expect going in because the only thing I knew was WWF,
Yes, yeah.
So, and it was fun.
The funny thing is that I stopped watching WWF at some point in maybe just after a few WrestleManias, and I was hooked on World Class and the Savoli's IWWCW from New Jersey there. And I was like, wait, there's other promotions? There's these other groups?
Yeah, I remember finding Tony Rumble stuff on cable access here and loving it. And
yeah,
I never knew. I mean, a few of my friends were into wrestling, but I never really knew how much. Like, I was friends with Pat Dillon back then, that runs UFO now.
Yes. Yep.
And he was going to shows back then, and because it wasn't cool, so you didn't talk about it,
Yeah.
He was going to shows way back then, and I knew he trained at Kowalski's for a year or so, but I still didn't really know the indie scene. I watched Tony Rumbles on cable access, but I never had a way to get to like Good Times or where those shows were. And,
yeah.
I mean, I got to see that. I remember watching Tasmaniac on TV.
Yep.
Seeing Sabu and all those guys that Rumble would bring in from ECW, probably wasn't even ECW at the time.
Well, actually, that was pre-ECW because Rumble had Tommy Dreamer, the Tasmaniac. He had them before they went to ECW.
Good.
Yeah.
And that was just cool to see. And,
Yep.
it wasn't hardcore. ECW wasn't all hardcore either. They had the reputation because they were the only ones putting it really on any type of television.
Exactly. But if you look around, you had Shane Douglas, you had Chris Candido, you had Taz, Rob Van Dam, Jerry Lynn, Mikey Whipwreck,
Benoit, and all of those guys, they all made a stop there. It's
absolutely.
So I think ECW they got that reputation, and it wasn't a bad reputation because they got fans because of it.
Yeah, they had a little bit of everything for somebody,
Right. It's that whole. I hate that. I use it all the time, and I hate using it. But the whole, it's you can't go to an ice cream shop that just has chocolate, even if chocolate's your favorite.
Exactly.
You might want vanilla or strawberry or whatever, another day.
Exactly. Yeah.
So, Dave, I appreciate you coming on. I appreciate your honesty, man.
My pleasure, anytime. And I my intention was to hopefully try to give, instead of people I know it's 20 years ago, but people down Eric. When Eric passed away, I went to his funeral, and I was a little nervous because I haven't talked to Steve since then. But I went to the funeral, and I'm not saying this to brag, but I was the only person from the wrestling family part of it that showed up. And I was nervous because when he came in, Steve came in and was sitting, he was staring right at me. So I walked up to him and I extended my hand and I said, "Steve, please accept my condolences. I'm very sorry about what happened." And he cried. We hugged. And it was a little closure. I got to, I talked to his mom and I talked to Justin, and his grandparents were there. And it was just really, really sad because, and I know why a lot of wrestlers didn't go, because just a weird situation. But it's this kid loved. I wish people just knew this kid loved wrestling so much, and maybe they not try to be easy on him, but understand how this kid at 16, who was like a child on a Christmas morning, when he would step in the ring at practice, or when he was when he went to ECW, I can just imagine what it was like. Was meeting his idols, and
and it sounds like he was very manipulated.
Yeah. And I think that would have been any of us, at some point. I've mocked out before.
Oh yeah.
So it's.
Oh yeah.
Don't blame the kid. That's why I keep saying don't. Some issues were his fault, but he was a good kid.
Yeah, and he just didn't know better. And
yes.
I've seen some people, and I don't go into locker rooms, that, but. I've actually been asked by promoters, "Hey, can you go into the locker room and control the situation for us?" And I've had to do it because that way if heat came out of it, the heat came on me and not two wrestlers,
True.
Not between two guys. And I never really cared about that because I never had to get in the ring with any of you,
True, yeah. Not yet.
No. I've actually, it's happened twice. Once was because Pat Dillman ran a show in Southie and asked me to get in a battle royal where I could just run over the ropes chasing someone out rather than take anything. And the other time was recently for Caleb, where and once was for Caleb where I was doing a security spot and we had to get the Hoods out of the ring. And the Hoods are two guys I've been friends with for, again, 15 years.
Absolutely, yeah.
Chris Pyro decided to swing a chair at me. Didn't know it was coming. Would have said no. But, I did. It knocked me down, I'll say.
Oh, boy.
They actually took a lot of heat from that because people thought it was a shoot.
Oh, Jesus.
They lost bookings over that, because I put the video on Facebook or Twitter.
Yep.
And Davey had hit me up and was like, "Can you almost cut a promo on this so people understand?" Because we just lost a couple bookings. I said, "Yeah." Although I think that's great because that's money if you get that kind of heat.
Yeah.
That's money for the promoter.
Yep.
But
and Davey's another kid I felt so bad for. He got 2005 with the incident with Spider.
Yeah.
I wasn't there, so I'm not. I can't. don't have not a lot of knowledge of exactly what happened, but I knew Davey 10 years before that, and he's a good kid. It was an accident, you know.
I love Dave. I'll say it, like, and people have their opinions on it, and I get it. And he gets that, but he hurts over that still.
Absolutely.
And I never met Spider. I didn't know Spider. So
sweet kid, very, very sweet kid.
I had wished I did. That was around the time I started. It was either right after or right before I started coming around and helping out. So
yeah, he came to a couple of the not Primal Conflict, but the
WF.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I mean, it's unfortunately the risks that happen in the ring, and though I think we just talked about Spider, which I won't even get into, but mass transit was an extreme, kind of tragedy.
Absolutely.
Don't put yourself in situations, guys, that you're not ready for. And unfortunately, like, that's easy to say, and I know people and they're all along, but you don't know you're not ready for it until you're in the middle of the situation.
And I know we got to cut this short, but it's another reason why I tell guys, you know, that want to get into the business, go to a school, a reputable school, learn, keep your mouth shut, your ears open. Billy King wrote a book, Keep Your Mouth Shut, Ears Open. It's a great book, actually. But go get a school. You got Brian Fury, Slick Wagner Brown. God, I hate missing people's names.
I like those. I tell people to start off at the Bell Time Club.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Great place to start out. And Bo will tell you, come here and then go get your finished work at with Brian Fury. And don't be afraid to ask. When you go into a wrestling school, don't just be like, hey, this says wrestling school, it must be good. Don't be afraid to ask who the head trainer is, what the head trainer's done.
Absolutely.
Maybe they haven't done anything themselves. Ask who they've trained.
Yep. I mean, and go to shows. Ask the workers. You know, I mean, XWA Rhode Island down in West Warwick. You know, Mike Bennett's trainer, and you know, he's got a lot of good guys training down there.
So, I think that's one of the morals of the stories. And real quick, because this is, I think, a misconception too, and you said it in there. Eric Kulas had wrestling training.
He had training enough to work with his own guys, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, like
you know what I'm saying?
A rookie.
Yeah, we've had him in battle royals. We knew how to handle him, you know, control him. We know what he could do, what he can't do. So,
but I think that's a misconception that he had zero training, and I wanna.
Yeah, he wasn't a backyarder. He just had basic training. But he's just, I think he was too much of a mock to be a worker. Again, that's not the you know, degrade or anything. His attitude, I think, is really immature to be in the ring. Rock D'Alessandro, who owned the New England Wrestling Alliance, you know, saw the big kid, wanted to give him a chance, you know, and but it was a mistake. You know, a lot of guys told Rock, you know, this kid doesn't belong in the ring, but you know, the kid, it was a kid on Christmas morning every time he walked into that ring. And I don't know, it's sad, you know.
It is. And Dave, I appreciate you coming on and talking about it. I appreciate your honesty.
My pleasure, anytime.
Mean what I said. Dave's opinion on him is my opinion on him. So if you have don't go to Dave. I know there was something with your Facebook post the other day. Come and talk to me. And, you know, don't put any of this on Dave. I asked Dave to do this. I asked Dave to be 100% honest. So I will take every piece of that. Dave, thank you so much, man. It's always a pleasure.
All my pleasure, brother. It's good talking to you.
I know you're not wrestling anymore, but you want to give out your social medias?
Facebook, Dave Padula, my real name. I've had a million different characters, but DAVE PADULA. Facebook, that's what I really do right now. I'm still trying to figure out how to use Facebook. Dude, you just broke my Skype cherry today. I'd never used Skype before. This is the first time using Skype. I'm like, the hell do I use this? And like everybody's, you know, I try to ask around, and everybody's like, who uses Skype anymore?
Well, yeah, we use it for this.
Yeah.
Because it's easy to record, honestly.
Yep.
But But Dave, if you're ever up in this area, I'm up in Quincy, Mass. I know you're only down an hour or so south. If you're ever up here,
absolutely.
Once all this stuff is over, I actually have a studio that I'll be recording from. I'd love to have you in there. We'll grab some lunch.
I'd love to. Have a couple of Swedish fish, shot of Jameson would be good.
That was a handle you had that day.
Oh, boy.
But Dave, thank you so much, man. It's always a pleasure.
Pleasure's all mine.
Guys, follow Dave on his on Facebook. You'll get some insight on who he is as a person, and it's just the most genuine person I know.
You see some funny dog videos.
Yeah. So Dave, that's all I got for you, man. I appreciate you doing this.
Thank you. JP, thank you so much. It's always a pleasure. Take care of yourself. Be safe.
You too, Dave. Be healthy.
Thank you.
Man. Bye.
You too. Bye-bye.